Peter Noel Duhamel, a former assistant United States attorney in New York City, is a licensed private investigator. Born in Boston, where he attended law school, he spent most of his life in New York City before moving to Corfu, Greece, where he now lives and writes. As a result of his passion, we can finally read his newest breathtaking thriller entitled Collins, and it was recently released and edited by Eurobox. Peter today has accepted our invitation and he's here to present his book. Hello, Peter. Thank you for being here.
And thanks for the invitation.
So let's start, if you agree, with telling what this book is about. What's the plot of Collins?
I've always had difficulty reducing it to a soundbite, so I apologize if it's somewhat rambling. Two brothers, one who is an assistant United States attorney, a federal prosecutor in New York City. The other one, a professional actor in New York City, the actor being junior by 5 years. They start off in individual, sort of separate storylines, with the prosecutor looking into an international, he's the head of the chief of international drugs and terrorism unit in the U.S. Attorney's Office. He's pursuing an investigation that begins as a narcotics investigation out of the Middle East and develops into a terrorist investigation. The actor, on the other hand, is going through somewhat of a midlife crisis, and he moonlights as a private investigator doing street work, doing basically following something that I did that is not nearly as exciting as it would seem to be in movies and in fiction. You could spend 12 hours following somebody and have nothing to show for it. So, but hopefully, as depicted by Thad, which is his name, it's a little more interesting than a 12-hour unproductive surveillance. In any event, at some point, their paths coincide because they wind up looking at the same person with somewhat tragic consequences. And I'll leave it at that. I meant, I guess a self-imposed spoiler alert for myself. So I'll just leave it at that.
Exactly. Let's leave it to the readers. But I would like to mention one of the characters, one of the most interesting characters in this book, actually, which is Carter. How did you create this character, and how can we describe him or just introduce him?
I imagine myself having a much more interesting life than I do. He's a bit of a rebel within the office, but a very accomplished Harvard undergrad, Harvard Law, and sort of holds his own counsel. Well regarded by the DEA agents, the Drug Enforcement Administration agents with whom he works, much to the chagrin of his bosses at times because he doesn't follow conventional practices. I take bits and pieces of what I either was involved in the office or observed. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan is generally regarded as the top prosecutorial office in the whole country. Wall Street is within its jurisdiction. Back in the day when they first really got interested in narcotics, they had the mafia families in the city. So they were behind the French Connection. I actually worked on one of the many appeals of the French Connection case. And just drawing from those experiences and then hopefully making them even more dramatic and more interesting rather than the tedious process that it sometimes is. I hope that's helpful.
So thrillers can be challenging to be read many times. In the case of your Collins, is it a book accessible to anyone, or does it have a target audience?
I would say it's more of a genre piece, crime, mystery. I would hope thriller to a certain extent, but basically crime mystery. So somebody who's looking just for literary fiction, I would like to think that the writing is pretty respectable, and they may enjoy it for the prose, but it would be more for the type of audience who's looking. I mean, I wouldn't put myself on their level, but Lee Child, Mark Greaney, Silva, people like that, those kinds of books. If those books appeal to you, then I would like to feel you could find something in my book that you will enjoy.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you again for your time, for introducing the book, and we wish you best luck with it.
Thank you very much.
The story takes place in New York that is as dark as the shady inhabitants who lurk in the winning alleys. Will Carter be able to figure out the right way without getting into trouble? The answer can only be found in the book. Collins by Peter Noel Duhamel is now available in bookstores and digital platforms. It's a publication by Eurobox.